Hello, everyone. My name is Raymond Johnson, and we are talking about the last video in our five-part series, and that is the strengths and preferences of the C for someone who's a C in the DISC index. All right, now, without further ado, same announcement as we made before. If you haven't watched the very first video, please go back and watch it. Number one, the DISC introduction, because this builds upon it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at the strengths and preferences, or the strengths and limitations of someone who is a high C. First of all, what we have is that they are a critical thinker. Now, that is a very strong attribute, whether you understand it or not. But they also set high standards for themselves and in a work setting, also for their subordinates. So if you want someone who is interested in quality, you need to make sure you have a high C, right? But guess what? The high C doesn't just stop there. They're also very well disciplined, and they maintain a high standard. So it's one thing to have a high standard and then have to be trained and talked to in order to keep that high standard. But a high C actually maintains that high standard. And there's a motivation for the high C that you may not realize, but they're motivated by a right way to go forward, a right way to proceed, a right way to do something. And so a high C is motivated by that, but guess what? They're also accurate. As you can imagine, this would be very important when it comes to accounting or major decisions that really could affect the organization in a negative or a positive way. You need someone who's accurate, right? You need someone who is accurate. And now, some of their weaknesses or their limitations is that they can be hesitant to act if there's no particular reason. In other words, they can be hesitant to move or do something unless there's a good reason for it. All right, that's a little bit like the S, but for the C, the difference is they need a reason to go ahead and do it. It's not just something to do just to be doing, but there's got to be a meaningful reason behind it. They can also be bound by procedures and methods. In other words, they can almost worship the procedures and the methods that are put down in place, and they never will do anything unless those procedures and methods are actually met. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't verbalize their feelings. And this could be a challenge, as you can imagine, in any work environment. They may not delegate. And when it comes to speaking their mind, so to speak, because remember, they don't verbalize their feelings, they may yield their position to avoid a controversy. Now, again, what we're talking about individuals who are in the C index. And we've talked about strengths and preferences or limitations, weaknesses of the high C. And I hope that this has been helpful for you. My name is Raymond Johnson, and make sure you go back and look at all 5 of the videos in this series. We're talking about being true to yourself. Take care.